Universal Orlando is a very popular place with millions of visitors coming in each year and a lot of them being return visitors. It's probably very likely that you've been here a couple times, and when you visit, you know exactly what you like, you know exactly where to go, you know where all the popular spots are in the park. But what if I told you there were some less than popular spots in the park, maybe even some hidden places that people don't know to look for? In today's video, I want to show you guys my favorite hidden spots and quiet places here at Universal Orlando Resort. I want to show you guys those places off the main path and those little corners of the park that you might not even know about. So welcome to the latest episode of Vincent Vision. Wachow! Alright, so we are starting this video out here at Universal Studios Florida at one of the most obvious hidden locations in the park. It is Sting Alley here in the New York section of Universal Studios, and maybe it's not so obvious. If you're like walking down the main street past Mummy towards Fast and Furious, you might notice like an entrance on the right hand side, but if you actually go in, you will find a whole section of the park with nothing but theming. This is like a full-on alleyway with little nooks and crannies and details all over. It is called Sting Alley because it is meant to be modeled off a alleyway from the movie The Sting with Robert Redford. I've never seen the movie, I can't verify that, but that's why it is called that. When this park first opened up in 1990 with help from Steven Spielberg, it was designed as a theme park that you could also film TV shows and movies in very regularly, and I think Sting Alley in particular is a great example of it. You could block off both sides of this thing and film whatever scene for whatever TV show or movie or commercial, and it could be pretty darn convincing in here. This is also a great spot for Instagram photos, so if you're looking for a nice quiet place in the park and a good spot for Instagram photos, hey, Sting Alley is good for you. This is a really cool area of the park, one of the park's really first hidden locations, definitely worth checking out and exploring on your trip to Universal Studios. Now this hidden location is probably the one that the most amount of people know about. I am, of course, talking about Knockturn Alley in Diagon Alley. And you would think this wouldn't need to be on the list, but for those people who are fans of Harry Potter, they obviously know about Knockturn Alley. It is a little hidden corner of Diagon Alley where dark wizards and witches get the things they need, and it exists here at the Diagon Alley in Universal Studios. All you gotta look for is the alleyway with a dark entrance, and you will be treated to a wonderfully themed and wonderfully AC'd section of the park. It is an all-indoor area meant to simulate night, and it also has Borgin & Burke's, another store in Diagon Alley that focuses on dark wizard merchandise. There are some more spells in here, lots of fun window displays, definitely worth checking out and looking for while you are in Diagon Alley. This next one here, well, there really isn't like any extra theming or hidden corners of the park. This is a really good alternate route that you can take if you're looking to get away from the crowds. I am talking about the Central Park cross-through in between Hollywood and Springfield at Universal Studios Florida. This area here really is just like a walkway here. It's pretty quiet. They just got a retheme a couple years ago to be the viewing area for the nighttime show that happens here at the park, but this does serve a really nice purpose where if you're looking to kind of get away from the crowds and looking for a quiet walk, this is one way to do it. It's got a bunch of different paths. It's got benches that are usually available because no one's really going this way, so this is a great place to sit down and relax for a second. And it's also nice and quiet. You know, these theme parks can be loud. There's a lot going on at all times, so it's always nice to find a place where you can just like take a break. There's also this really large patch of grass. You can have a picnic if you brought your food. You can just sit down or even just like lay out full sprawl if you want. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Why is the Central Park area on the complete opposite end of the New York section of the park? Like, shouldn't it be like right next to it or connected to it? The reason it's like that is because it is meant to resemble Central Park in New York City. So when you are in Central Park in New York City and you're looking out at the lagoon, you can see the city all around you. Pretty smart design. It's something that I didn't really think about until it was explained to me. So those are probably the coolest hidden locations at Universal Studios Florida. We're crossing over to Islands of Adventure now, and we're taking a detour at, I guess it's kind of like a hidden location. It's a little out of the way, to be honest, but it's actually behind the Hard Rock Cafe. It's this quiet little corner here that used to connect the park, and what's really, really cool is it actually has a really important piece of history here. Behind the Hard Rock Cafe is where you can find a piece of the actual Berlin Wall from the Cold War. It is pretty crazy, super random, but a very, very important piece of history, real world history, tucked away in the back of the Hard Rock Cafe and City Walk, let's head on over to Islands of Adventure. We're here, Islands of Adventure, my favorite park. Look at my wonderful shirt. We are here at the first hidden location in the park. It's not super hidden, but it's definitely off the beaten path. When people first enter Islands of Adventure and go into Port of Entry, they either go left towards Marvel Superhero Island or right towards Seuss Landing, but they don't go straight down by the water. There's a whole area in Port of Entry that is usually pretty empty. It's great to explore. You get a really up-close view of the Incredible Hulk, a great view of the lagoon and the Velocicoaster as well. When this park first opened up, each land had like a viewing area by the water, and that is because there actually used to be a fireworks show here at Islands of Adventure. I know, right? So cool. That would be so awesome if they brought something like that back. Unfortunately, it's not a thing, but the remnants of it still remain with these lagoon viewing areas, which are usually pretty darn quiet. This area here also has another relic of the past of Islands of Adventure. There used to be a boat ride called the Island Skipper Tours, which was in the first couple years of the park opening, that took you from the Port of Entry to Jurassic Park. And I remember, because I went on it as a kid, it was just like a boat, like at Epcot over at Disney World, that you would take you from one side to the other. And the queue and the dock where you would get on the boat still remains. The Jurassic Park one is not there anymore. They took it down and tore it apart when they were building the Velocicoaster, but the one here at Port of Entry still remains. If you're looking for a piece of Islands of Adventure history that still exists, it is right there. I know you big theme park geeks like me love finding those old abandoned stuff. That's one of them right there at the front of the park. So for a lot of people, this next area is just something they use to get to Hagrid's and Harry Potter faster in the morning. But to me, this is another hidden location here in the park called Sneetch Beach. If you go right down by the water, you see there's a fence, and you got a whole little beach setup going on. If you've ever wondered what those little like floating things in the lagoon at Islands of Adventure are, those are Sneetches. They are Dr. Seuss characters, and they are enjoying a day on the beach. It's a fun little detail. I love little corners of the parks like this with theming in places that people might not really go to. There's a radio that's actually playing its own soundtrack and its own audio. It is a very cool, quiet area of the park if you're looking for a place to rest. And it's also home to a really fun piece of trivia about this park, the Zax bypass. You might have noticed the statues of the two little yellow Seuss characters kind of looking at each other. It is a story from the Dr. Seuss world called the Zax, where there was a north-going Zax and a south-going Zax, and they both kind of met in the middle, and both of them were so stubborn and didn't want to change direction that the whole world grew around them. So whenever they built Seuss Landing, they actually put the Zaxes first and built the whole land around them. It is a really, really cool fun fact, and also a really great testament to the creativity that was put into this park when it was first built. This next hidden location is in Hogsmeade over at Islands of Adventure, and while it is a little small, it is definitely off the beaten path. It is a little alley on the left side of the entrance to the Three Broomsticks, and it is called Kitchen Alley. It's called that just because, well, the Three Broomsticks is there, Honeydukes is there, and technically it's like a way for employees to get backstage, but it is a really, really cool spot if you are looking for some very unique Wizarding World photos. All right, this is a great spot for pictures. There's almost like no one here ever. Really fun little window displays. Quick, easy, fun place to get your perfect Instagram photo session. And last, but certainly not least, my favorite hidden spot here at Universal, because it is so big, it is so out of the way, and it has no purpose other than for people to just like wander around and get lost in, is the area behind Popeye and Me Ship the Olive. There is this giant walkway area that very clearly is meant to be a lagoon viewing area for whatever fireworks show used to be here. Now, it is just a pleasant little place in the park where there is rarely ever anybody except for the occasional guests who just wander around and get lost thinking this is how you continue on through the park. It gets you some really great views of the Velocicoaster and the rest of the park. It's also got some really fun props and gags that you can only see in this area of the park. Things like Plymouth Rock, the School of Fish. My personal favorite detail is the sort of mailbox for Olive Oil, Popeye, Wimpy, Bluto, all those characters from the Popeye ride. You know, it's little details like that that are tucked away in the most random, obscure parts of the park that only like 5% of the guests visiting today are gonna see. That's what makes Islands of Adventure such a standout theme park, you know, and the fact that they keep those things, even though there's not really any purpose to keep this area as is, the fact that it exists and they have all these different props here just makes it really special when you discover it and makes this place feel so much bigger than it actually is. So with that being said, that is all I've got. These are all of my favorite hidden little spots here at Universal Orlando Resort. Some more hidden than others, but all still very cool, very unique, and hopefully I've shown you something you haven't seen before. If you have seen it before, or you think I'm forgetting one that's super, super cool, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear about it. I love these parks, and I love finding out things that I didn't already know about them. I'm gonna get on out of here. Thank you guys for watching another VincentVision, and I'll see you at the next one. Bye-bye. Elevator.